Hello everyone, Martin here, back with another Legacy video. And today I have a really incredibly interesting list that I'm super excited to be playing. One of the Doomsday Cabal, Wally, got in touch with me a couple of days ago with this Yorion build. Now Wally, I think top 16'd a showcase challenge a few weeks back with a regular sort of demure list that had 2 copies of Peak, and we spoke at length about Peak, and Wally got me convinced that I should go ahead and try Peak, and I've actually been playing it ever since. So when Wally gets in touch with an idea, I'm usually pretty interested in hearing what it's about, and this one is just nuts. And I was incredibly skeptical initially. The core concept of like playing Doomsday in a Yorion shell is something I have at least like I've run my eyes over a couple of times, and I've always ended up thinking, well, I mean, you're gonna sacrifice consistency, so what would be the point? And also, don't you just end up with the deck where it would be better if Doomsday was just another, like, a different card? And I asked these questions to Wally, and Wally convinced me that I should at least try it. And so I have, and I made a couple of adjustments. I added the one ring. Wally had a Loam and Wasteland package initially that we talked about, and I tried it out, and yeah, ended up cutting. But so, where to even begin with this deck? So it's a 4-color Yorion full-on mid-range deck that plays just a ton of removal. So 4 Plow, 4 Ending, and 4 Orcish Bowmasters, and then also even 4 Ice Fang Quaddle. So that's a lot. So for the first time I think ever, I feel fairly confident in saying that this deck is favored against most Delver piles. You know, Delver's Delver, you can obviously easily lose, but we also have the 4 Uro, so like all sorts of stuff that Delver is not too keen on. And that's not the reason to be playing this, but that's just I thought a funny thing. So basically, the Orcish Bowmasters, Wally made a great point that this is sort of the card that kind of makes this deck work, in the sense that this is a reason to be black as your 4th color. And why do we want Doomsday? Well, you could easily substitute the Doomsdays for and Thassa's Oracle for something else, and you'd have a very decent mid-range Yorion deck. But I have been really impressed so far. I have also have to stress I've only played like 1.5 leagues so far, but by how relevant Doomsday has been. You don't always win with Doomsday. I don't even know if you win half of your games with Doomsday, but you win a non-trivial portion of games with Doomsday. But it's so completely fundamentally different from what we've been used to with Doomsday. Like, this is, you put Doomsday on the stack maybe by turn 5 to 10, in that range, and usually you do it when everything is sewn up, or at least you have control over the game. But where without Doomsday you wouldn't be able to close it out, you suddenly can shift gears. And also, like, you can be at a point in the game where the power dynamics is somewhat poised. You're not behind, but maybe you're not very far ahead, but the opponent is not really working by, like, in the sense of they haven't been attacking the metric the Doomsday operates on. So you know, they're thinking about removing the Teferi you just resolved or whatever, and then Doomsday suddenly happens, and until this point the whole game has been about like trading 1 for 1 or trying to gain 2 for 1 advantages, and suddenly the whole ball game changes. I was going to hold off by with recording, but I just finished my 3rd match of League, and so you'll see the first 3, but I'll be doing them by playback, and then once you've seen those, you will join me as I go and finish the last 2 rounds live. I will say this is like if I had to like put like a headline or a couple of headlines onto how I feel about this deck, it is very different. It is from your regular Doomsday deck. It almost is not even worth talking about as the same deck, because it's not, but it's the same. It has the same potential like win condition, and maybe the comparison stops there. You get some incredibly fun games of Magic, but you also it's very stressful, at least for me, because I'm used to playing like spell-based combo that usually wins or loses in somewhere between like 1 and 4 turns probably. And suddenly you have to really manage the clock and also just your sanity when you, like, I've had a couple of crazy sort of Yorion mirrors, or like I had an insane match in Death and Taxes where I lost a crazy long game 1, and then I won a game 2, also a very long one. By the time I won game 2, I had like a minute left on my clock. My opponent had like 5 minutes, and I think I had mismanaged the clock a lot during that, and I think I could have, well, who's to say what would happen in game 3, right? But anyways, like, and that's just, it's sort of like you lose your breath after that. Already now I can tell you there's a couple of things I'm going to probably be changing. I don't think we need this 1 dark ritual. I thought it would be clever to put it in, but I don't think you ever want to resolve a Doomsday that fast. I also think we could potentially not play Edge of Autumn. I haven't been too impressed. I also, after submitting this to the league, found out that I had made a bit of a punt in that I added Avert and Catacombs as the last fetch land, and I think that should have been maybe a flooded strand. The One Ring has been really impressive, I think. When it has shown up, I would consider like playing a second copy, I think. All right, but enough of that. I hope you enjoy this show, and I will press play on the replay. All right, so for round number 1 here, I was on the draw, and just let me click through this, revealing Yorion, and I get this pretty nice hand, which I decide to keep. And yeah, like the One Ring is a pretty sweet card. Orcish Bowmasters too, and we're up against something. What here? Ponder, right? Opponent ponders and chooses not to shuffle. So, Tropical Island could be anything. Could be Infect. Could be Bant. We draw another land here, which is not probably what we needed, but then again, it's not terrible. Pass. And okay, so opponent plays Delighted Halfling, which is kind of scary for what might come up next. And I'm glad to see my opponent fetching, or like making a 2-mana play anyways, as we are sort of still in the realm of every deck keeps open mana on turn 2 for like Orcish Bowmasters. But okay, we draw Force of Will, which is not really going to align well with the Delighted Halfling. And so our opponent is on Bant colors. Okay, so they brainstorm, and we get to fire off the ambush orc here. And let's see. So that enters the battlefield, and I decide to, I think, ping them, because I think if they have removal for the orc, then the 1 damage I would put on the halfling is just lost. Whereas if the Orcish Bowmasters is in play for Brainstorm to resolve, we can just ping the halfling there. Okay, so they plow, and I decide this is worth the fight, because the Force of Will also is not really going to do a lot with the halfling in play. And apparently they agree, so they force back and pitch their Teferi, and we can't do anything more here. So the orc is plowed, the Brainstorm resolves, and they make the attack. Okay, so now I'm punished for not putting the 1 damage on, but I mean, obviously, then they just wouldn't have attacked, so yeah, it is what it is. We draw a Coatl, which is, I think, okay. I played here at sorcery speed. That's interesting. Not sure, maybe just to find a plow or something, but don't find it. Don't care. Make the attack. And they're casting something, tapping to cast legendary here. Oh, nope, another brainstorm. And they're brainstorm locked. They're casting what? Teferi. Okay. They plus Teferi to have him survive. I put 2 on Teferi here, I think. Yeah, because then my reasoning is if I resolve the 1 ring, they can't bounce it without losing Teferi. And here we see the appearance of the 1 ring, and it just resolves, which is cool. I immediately draw a card here. I think the thing about the 1 ring, you could, of course, hold off with drawing cards, but if your opponent is playing something with flash that punishes card draw and doesn't target you, like, say, a Hull Breacher, then you're going to get blown out by that anyways. So there's no real reason. They're not a discard deck, and you have protection from everything anyways. So, all right. Draw a second Urborg. That's not so interesting. They plus their Teferi. And what's this? Another legendary. Oh, it's the 1 ring of their own. Okay, cool. And they draw as well. So, but I'm ahead in the 1 ring race here. And I decide to draw 2. And draw Uro, which is nice. But we do kind of want to get rid of that Teferi if we can. So I play an Abundant Growth here, which is just a great card in this deck. And Ponder. Plow is nice and all. Okay, I put these back, and I can't remember what I did here. I do not shuffle, so I have a Doomsday coming, which is like pretty interesting when you have the 1 ring, but not so much when they have Teferi and you don't. So I do kind of want to see if I can find a way to remove Teferi or get my own in play. So we attack Teferi again. Have to keep him sort of from being able to bounce the 1 ring and survive. And I guess I plow here. I'm not sure I agree with that, because I mean, as long as Teferi's in play, like, we can't force or counter anything anyways with the halfling. But I guess they are somewhat, there's turn 6 and they have 3 lands, so I think maybe that's why I did it. And they have an Uro of their own, but they're sort of like, aside from the Teferi, they're like 1 turn behind everything here. And with the ring in play, that's a pretty big deal. I decided to draw right away and not like go for the Doomsday. They have 6 cards. It feels like they probably have a way to answer it. So I find a Teferi, and Teferi eats a Force of Negation. And then, let's see here. Do I just make Uro? I think I do. Make Uro. And hit a land. Right, and they still are like struggling on lands over there, which is interesting. So, Teferi, if nothing else happens here, Teferi's going to die next turn. And here you also see like the symbiosis with the 1 ring and Uro is like the life gain. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Orcish Bowmasters is also like really cool here. So I just play the Bowmasters here. Okay, they brainstorm in response. But Bowmasters get to ping Teferi for 1, all but ensuring that he dies here. One of my 1 drop or one of my 1 power creatures is going to connect, even if they have plow for Uro. Send in the squad, hit a land, which is nice. Alright, Teferi bites the dust. And I just go for Doomsday here, which I'm guessing they didn't see come. They force, we can hard cast a Force of Negation here. So they Force of Will. then I draw in response with the One Ring, and everything is countered. But now we have Orcish Bowmasters, which makes their card draw off of their One Ring a little bit vulnerable. They Terminus here, which they brainstormed handedly to the top, and I decide to force of negation pitching a brainstorm here. They draw in response, and all the Bowmaster triggers happen. They take 4. They're going to take another 4 on their next turn, and we have a giant squad. Terminus is countered. They have another One Ring though, which buys them a turn. Meanwhile, we're at 18 and about to take 4 ourselves, but we can then gain some life, so it's all good. And like exiling, I attack with Aurora here just to gain the life. They have protection though, and exiling the One Ring is not gonna like remove their protection. And I would assume that I draw here, yeah. Oh, just draw everything here, and even draw the Oracle. So we just, I think, get to win on the spot. Our devotion right now is 5. So I just put in, I resolved Doomsday, and it just basically put in 5 cards that I want them to see the least. And I just cast Oracle. And that's all she wrote. Alright, cool. So, pretty cool game 1. Very grindy. And the One Ring really just letting us go nuts here. So, replays on Magic Online don't let you see how you sideboarded, and I am somewhat struggling with that to remember. Pretty sure I brought in some Flusterstorms and Carpets. And I get this hand, which is just a fine hand, so I keep this hand. Oh, they're red as well, so it's like that hot Bant. They chose Nut to shuffle. And I draw the One Ring, which is very good in this matchup, as we just saw. I just go land, go. And they just go land, go as well. And 2 can play that game. So here we are. And neither of us wants to play into, like, this is, I think, more and more like where whoever makes the first move, whoever blinks first, usually comes off the worst for it. Okay, so opponent plays Teferi, and I decide to brainstorm in response, I believe, which resolves, draw some lands in the second Uro. I have the prismatic ending though, but I think I have to force here, because if they have a force and I let Teferi resolve, my pending is never going to resolve. But they have Pyroblast, which is somewhat of a bummer. And so they drew immediately, which makes sense, and paste them off here. But I try and remove Teferi, but looks like they have a force. Okay, so they pass with 5 open mana, 2 cards in hand, and I decide to try out the One Ring, which sticks, which is big news here. And they Mystic Sanctuary Ponder. So, okay, I draw. It's a Carpet. That's not a bad card. So they Ponder and Shuffle, which is obviously a sign of weakness here, which emboldens me. And I play the Carpet after drawing a useless Force of Will. I draw 2. Alright, another Force of Will. Not exactly what the doctor ordered, but we'll take it. And I play a Euro here, which eats a plow. So can't do anything about that. Now we have, with the Carpet and everything, we can play Doomsday soon, if we should wish to do so. I have to play this Quaddle at sorcery speed. Alright, so this resolves and we just have to pass here. At a healthy 23 life. I suppose we could have triggered Carpet and cast a Brainstorm. So they have their one ring, but they only have 2 cards in hand, and we are sitting on a whole bunch and about to be able to draw 3. So, and they do not shuffle. So we take some damage, we draw a card. It's an abundant growth. We attack to fairy because, you know, basically the law says you have to. So attack to fairy. And let's see. Okay, abundant growth. The snow-covered plains. Plow. Not too exciting here. Let's draw 3 cards. We have Uro here, which is good. And we have a second Carpet. So let's brainstorm. Oh, and there is a prismatic ending. If we can get rid of this Teferi, that just opens up our whole hand. I can't believe I didn't go for it there. The prismatic ending. I think I should have done that. Okay, so they draw 2 cards with the ring, and they cast a Ponder. It shuffles. Another Ponder. Not sure what they're looking for exactly, but like maybe a Narset or something to, yeah, stop the card draw. But they have to pass here, which has to be pretty disheartening. So I choose not to trigger it here, and I go for the prismatic ending on their Teferi. And so they fetch, and they brainstorm in response. So that's uplifting. They pitch cast Force of Will. Okay. I have second Carpet. And I attack Teferi, and I think here, like, I can just make 1,000,000 mana, cast Doomsday. If it resolves, Ring can draw me 4 cards. So, let's see. Yeah, I make 12 mana and cast Doomsday. And they didn't have Force of Negation before, so if they want to counter this, that's another Force of Will, which would leave them hellbent, which is not terrible. So they brainstorm yet again, and Doomsday resolves. Excellent. So we can make a pile here that has Teferi, which will allow us to resolve Thassa unimputed. And I just like make ponders here. Interesting. I guess it won't really matter. I'm gonna draw the whole shebang here. Not sure what the whole ponder business was. I think it would have been okay. So they have Pyroblast. Okay, I mean, they have 1 card left. If it's stressed down, it's stressed down. But you know, if not, then we win. And looks like we win. Yay! All right, cool. Yeah, that was a like really cool game, and I think like the One Ring ended up just taking center stage, and it was not unfortunate for me to start both games with that card sort of in my opening hand. So round number 2, once again, no, well, not once again on the draw, this time on the play. And this was a mulligan, and this is a keep, and we bottomed the Dark Ritual. And let's see here. We have some choices here. I choose to play the Prismatic Vista and get an island, which in a moment you'll see why that was perhaps not the wisest of decisions. Although honestly, maybe that's, you know, stretching it a bit, because in a moment our opponent's going to have a moon effect in play, and we can't cast our plow. So if we just hadn't pondered, we would have been able to fetch basic basic plains, I mean, and plow. So if we draw one more, no, we have an answer for this Magus, right? Because we have the a second Ice Fan Quaddle coming. Opponent just passes. We draw a second Quaddle, draw a fresh card, but it's not a basic land, sadly. So us not attacking here should put on some warning signs for the opponent, who goes for a Chalice for 1. We can't really do anything about that. And they attack, nonetheless. I block and flash in the second Quaddle to give my first Quaddle Death Touch. And I am free of the coils of the moon, so that's good. And get a Tundra here and play Teferi. Bounce the Chalice, draw a Doomsday. Yeah, not sure about the whole bouncing of Chalice. Also not sure about this attack, to be honest. If they have like Goblin Rabblemaster, they can just kill my Teferi now. If they have something worse, they have a Fury, so that just kills both my things. Puts a 3/3 double striker there, and I can't plow. Actually, no, that's not true. I can plow because they didn't replay. And I get a basic swamp here, I think, because I want to move towards being able to cast Doomsday. Okay. Brainstorm. So I put away Endurance. And what was that, a land? Okay, there's an Abundant Growth. So looking okay here, I think. I plow as they go to attack. They make Chalice for 1 again, and I think I let that resolve. And then they make a Chalice for 2, to which I respond with my Bowmasters, but then I let it resolve, which I think maybe was not too smart, because that actually does shut off a lot of things in my deck. I draw a 1-drop, can't cast it, I swing, and I put Yorion into my hand and pass. And they have another Fury, which kills my army and my orc, and now I can't cast anything, really. Well, I can Yorion, which I do, and bounce the, or flicker the Abundant Growth to draw a card. But Yorion can't really block the Fury. I'm like really looking for a prismatic ending here. And they have second Fury, which is just a death knell here. They put 4 because they can't put 4 anywhere else. They put it on Yorion, but it means that I can't. Like, I suppose it doesn't really matter. Well, no, it does. It doesn't matter, because I can't trade with the Fury now, as I would have otherwise been able to. And I draw Bowmasters, also locked under the Chalice, and that's it. I mean, I could have absorbed 6 damage, lost my Yorion, and gone to 2 life, which maybe I should have done, because I still have outs. Like if I were to, I don't know, draw Teferi, I bounce Chalice for 1 and then plow. So that's like one thing. Maybe I was a bit too hasty there. So sideboarding wise, I don't think there is that much to bring in. I think I brought in some Plague Engineers named Goblin. I think I... brought in the Hydro Blast and the Blue Elemental Blast, and not sure if that was it. So I get this hand, which I mulligan, and then I keep this hand, which is not great, and I bottom a Doomsday. And I fetch Basic Island for the Ponder. Oops, sorry, skipped through that a little bit quickly, but I do believe that I shuffled. So, looking kind of grim here, down a game. And opponent thankfully just goes turn 1 Mountain Go. And we are officially choked. And now they have a Cavern of Souls, so our Force of Will is even sort of not good enough here. But they have Trinisphere rather than a Goblin, so I snap off this Force of Will. And I pitch to Fairy, because I think Uro maybe ends up doing more in this game for me. So really need to hit a land here, which I do thankfully, and it makes black mana, though not really Uro friendly mana. They have a Goblin, and I flash in my Bowmasters to pick off the first Goblin that came out with the Rabblemaster. And I hit another land, which is obviously great. I don't attack here, and I plan an ambush. So they attack here with both. And before it blocks, I flash in my second Bowmasters, put 1 damage on the Rabblemaster, and I greedily only block with 1 Bowmaster. Well, not greedily, I mean, but they have Dead Gone, which kills the Bowmaster blocking, and they certainly also have a second Dead Gone to kill the army. So at this point, it's looking a little bit grim here. We draw Ponder though, which we cast, and we find Plow +2 Prismatic Vistas, which is pretty great. And so they have Chalice for 1, so I have to Plow in response. Doesn't really matter that much about the timing here. So they have their Chalice, and we have a couple of 1/1s facing each other here. And they attack. I think I don't block. And now I get to cast Uro. Like, it sucks to shuffle away the other Prismatic Vista, because as it is, I can't escape Uro, but I'm at least getting somewhere here. And I can attack. And so they have a Chrome Mox, which imprints the Fable. And then they have a lot of mana here, and I'm really scared, which is, I think, which is fair, because they have the Caves of Chaos Adventurers, and now they have the initiative. And they choose not to attack, because they want to keep the initiative. And I draw a land, decide to escape Uro, so that was a good draw. So Uro enters, we draw a card. That's a Force, which I'm pretty happy to see. I have a blue card to pitch, and suddenly we are at least somewhat in this game. So, but they put 2 +1/+1 counters on their dude, and they make a Chalice for 2. And I decide, you know, taught by bitter experience, to force it, and they're hellbent. And so they choose not to attack here. And so I draw another Uro, and I decide to attack with both creatures, which I think may have been a mistake. Maybe I should have only attacked with the Uro. We get lucky and draw a fetch land here, which means we can just escape Uro again if they were to trade, but they don't. They just like eat our goblin, our orc, and we eat their goblin. And I decide to play another Uro here and keep the one already in play. We get another land, but it's not one that lets us re-escape Uro. It is one that lets us cast Doomsday if we wanted to, but that seems a little bit risky. We would drop 13. They go and they set a trap now, like dealing us 5 damage, and then they would deal us 7, so we would be at 1. So not, I don't think that's advisable. And what did they top decked? Another Caves of Chaos Adventurers. Okay, so this is looking a bit dicey now. We take 7. We already took 5. We take another 7, so we drop to 14. And they reveal the Fury, which they can't play. So that's at least something. Okay, so I actually here look like cast Doomsday because I can just attack with the Uro, which is pretty sweet. So we make a pile that is Thassa and a land we can fetch with the Misty and some Teferis because, you know, Teferi's nice. There we go. So we attack with the Uro. We draw edge. I also really love, like, they must have like really had to take a double take at the side of Doomsday at this point in the match. So we get the initiative. So before I have to shuffle, because the initiative says you have to shuffle, I cycle the edge to draw the Thassa. I didn't put a basic land into the pile. I suppose I could have. But now we just get to win, so that's pretty sweet. They had 1 card in hand and they had a Chalice for 1, so even if they had like Pyroblast or whatever, it wouldn't have been good enough. Alright, so we're 1-1. Let's see how game 3 went. So game 3 on the draw, of course. Alright, we keep this hand. We could Force of Will, and we have lands to play. And they go, what, Chromox imprinting, what, printing, Shatterskull smashing, Fable. So they're down to 3 cards. I don't feel great forcing here, and I force Pitch Brainstorm because I think I'm probably going to need the second force for the next turn, or the, you know, one more turn from now or so. So I'm hoping to draw a blue card, and I do. So that's lucky, and just go land go here, play the Vista, be ready to fetch a basic around the Blood Moon, or Magus of the Moon. They have a Caves of Chaos Adventure, and I force that. I pretty much feel like I have to. So now we're sort of, you know, in a little bit of trouble here, but the Blue Blast is nice. So it doesn't do anything against a Chalice or a Trinisphere, but it beats everything else that their deck has. But of course, what's this? A Chalice for 2. Okay, we just have to suck that up. I'm actually interested they went for a Chalice for 2 over a Chalice for 1 as their first Chalice. We draw Doomsday, which is pretty nice. And okay, so I decide here is the chance I take, because they're at 10 life as well, to make a Plague Engineer, and we will soon see why they didn't make a Chalice for 1. It's because they have 1-drops to resolve. So Plague Engineer immediately dies, and I am immediately punished if they have like a follow-up, but luckily they do not. So we draw Force of Negation. I take this time out to put Yorion in the hand. And they just pass, and we draw Force of Will, which is good. So now I'm sort of like I can hard cast Force of Negation and keep open Force of Will. They just draw another Ancient Tomb. Crazy. Okay, I draw to Fairy, which is nice. And as you'll see, oh, they Pyroblast. And I decide to force Pitch Yorion here because I think this is worth it. And I decide to bounce their Chromox and force it on the way back because they clearly don't have any other red mana. So I do force it, and they just have to pass. And we draw another Doomsday, which is awkward, but we have Teferi. We can Hydroblast their first sort of play they make. And now they make a Trinisphere, which is, obviously it's annoying, but we have 3 mana, and our deck can operate under a Trinisphere once we get there. Orcish Bowmasters would have been nice if it wasn't for the Chalice on 2. Teferi just ticking up, and they just keep drawing not red mana. So we have Brainstorm here, which I'm not going to play because that like takes me off Hydroblast, but I will play on the end of their turn as they just pass, and that's enough to make them concede. Which, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I concede there, but obviously you don't know what they're sitting on. But yeah, Teferi is about to be ready to bounce Chalice for 2, and I could have played Orcish Bowmasters there at 6 with 3 Ancient Tombs. So yeah, really happy to steal this one. And let's go for round number 3. All right, on the play for round number 3. Let's go. I get this hand, which is a pretty cool hand, I think, so I decide to keep it. Maybe just go land to go. Not sure I ponder here. Yeah, just land go, keep open the Force of Negation. Swamp go. That's sort of ominous. And I decide to fetch in their end step in case they go Dark Ritual, presumably for Opposition Agent. Then I'm able to Force of Negation the Dark Ritual. So, but they don't, so I try to fix my colors here so I get a trop. And just pass. Now I don't want to flash in Orcish Bowmasters because then they get to, like, there's a sort of a meta thing with Bowmasters where like the one who plays the first one loses to the one who plays the second one. So, and we're sort of both telegraphing Orcish Bowmasters here. And I keep drawing lands, which I think is pretty good. And draw Ponder, which is nice. And I can Ponder here, and then if they go Bowmasters, then I can go Bowmasters. But they don't. Savannah, Prismatic Vista, and Edge. I decided to draw the Edge, or sorry, the Vista, which I'm a little bit surprised that I do. Okay, so they have Opposition Agent. I fetch in response, and here's where I make like a pretty big punt. Where I'm like, oh yeah, Opposition Agent. That's that 3/1 creature, right? So I just don't even look at my screen. I put 1 damage from the Bowmasters on it, but no, Opposition Agent, unlike the world that was existing in my brain, is a 3/2, not a 3/1. So, and now I get just big time punished. Oh no, well, it's not yet. That is a bit of a punish. The grief on the 1 ring. I have a Prismatic Vista, or sorry, Prismatic Ending here, so I pending the agent, and I fetch cast Abundant Growth, and you know, looking somewhat okay. An opponent has Wasteland, so this is like a proper haters deck. And they have Shouldered, yikes! But luckily, this is a Prismatic Ending in our hand that can actually be cast for 4 different colors. We do end up taking 2 from Shouldered, mockingly drawing a Brainstorm, but at least we can remove her. It does sort of tap us out here, which is a little bit frustrating. So let's go Pondering. Yeah, these are some good cards. And I keep them and pass. Or rather, attack and then pass. Not sure, maybe I'm supposed to trade there. I'm not sure. Because our life total is getting somewhat low here. Okay, so playing a Teferi. This is where they have Bowmasters. I Brainstorm in response, find Force of Will, and force it. But joke's on me,
because they have second Bowmasters. No, sorry, opposition agent. Okay, I misremembered, but still, not ideal. We draw Icefang Quaddle, which is nice, and I ascend in the Bowmasters, and I get ready to double tag the Grief, which happens here. Drawing a Savannah, so it's nice and grindy magic. Grief dies, but they push the Bowmasters, and they have another Sheoldred, which is somewhat of an issue. I'm like, I have nothing. I try and edge to see if I can spike something, but I don't. Have another redraw with Uro, and it takes us up to 5. So it's like Uro is like +1 life each iteration with a Sheoldred in play, and I can escape Uro here, taking me back up to 5. So I had to fetch to do so. I don't draw anything, and as it happens, they can grief us here, and I believe they had snuff out. Yeah, so we lose game 1 here, which felt like it was winnable for a portion, but then like Sheoldred was a pretty big deal. So on the play, what did I sideboard? I probably brought in, I think, Containment Priest, because they were like a grief scam deck. They probably have like reanimates, and not sure, maybe Flusterstorm. I can't remember exactly. Yeah, get a nice hand here. Keep that. Can't really afford to put Abundant Growth on the Bayou because we've seen Wasteland. Plus, it's better on a basic most of the time. So they just go Swamp Pass. We draw another land, which is just what the doctor ordered. And we draw another Abundant Growth, which is also pretty nice. So now we have 2 basics that tap for rainbow mana. A little bit annoying drawing the Thassa's Oracle here, because if we were to Doomsday, and they discard us, and they're all mono black deck, so, chances are high. They just go Swamp Go once more. Okay, so we could Doomsday here, but we just cast a Fairy. So what did they do? Bowmasters. That's worth a Force of Will here. Bowmasters does not interact favorably with Teferi. Okay, so Teferi is in. I tick him up in case they have another Bowmasters, because I do kind of want to win with Teferi in play. Like if I'm going to put Doomsday on the stack, they have Dark Ritual. We just have to let them have this plus Dothy, right? Okay, so we plus Teferi once more. I was really in the tank about this because, I'm so scared of Doomsday and then getting Thassa discarded here. And I thought for a while maybe I should Prismatic ending at sorcerer at instant speed here and have Teferi survive. But that just gives them more time to draw. So I'd rather chance it that they don't do anything here. And because I plus Teferi during my last turn, his effect doesn't go away because he dies. So they just pass through their second main, and I can still cast sorceries as though they were at instant speed. So I cast Doomsday here, which I have to say I pretty much love. They just see this mid-rangey deck in game 1, and then whammo, end of turn Doomsday. Because we have Thassa in hand, we can make a pretty cool pile, which involves Consider. So I'll show you. So we put, I think, a land on the bottom. No, never mind. It'll become apparent. So we untap, we draw Consider, and we cast that and put. They're doing something here in response. Bowmasters, yeah, that's fine. We're not drawing 9 cards here, so it's all good. 8 cards. The deal is 1. We put Icefang in the graveyard, and here's actually where Consider is pretty good. If we didn't have Consider, we would lose to a Snuff Out here. but because we have Consider, we're able to get to the bottom of the pile. So we draw a fetch land, and the last card in the pile is a land. So that's pretty sweet. All right, we draw a level on in games, and let's see how. All right, we get a fine hand, double endurance. I don't know, a little bit weird, but lands and force of will and stuff. So we looks like I clicked through my first main phase here. Luckily, I remembered and played a Vista. There's Grief. I respond with a fetch land because I want to brainstorm and see what I can hide here, which is obviously a little bit of a risk. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because if they have Bowmasters, it's kind of bad. So I think better of it and just let them take what they want here. They take an Endurance, which makes me think they're going to reanimate. And they do. I brainstorm a response now that my Bowmaster is safe. Well, that I'm safe from Bowmaster. There's a Containment Priest, which is pretty interesting. So I put back the Endurance and the Force of Will. And I let this resolve. And they take Ponder. So I now have Force and a Containment Priest, which I'm pretty happy with. I fetch to not get in trouble with Opposition Agent. So they serve in for 3. So they have 3 mana now and 3 cards in hand. And I flash in my Priest. And what do we get here? Prismatic Ending. That's not bad. So I keep open Force rather than just cycle Uro for some life. And they took 4 from that reanimate, so that's nothing. I do decide to Uro here. I mean, that's interesting. Okay, and I kind of get punished for it. So they put a damage on the Priest, but then they mess up here, I think. And they put the second damage on Uro instead. I think that must have been a misclick. So we get to keep our Priest, and we draw a blue card for Force, which is right on time because Turok Dread Cantor would not have been something I wanted to play against. So we're taking some damage now, and I can't cast. I can't escape Uro. It's just this Urborg and Basic Planes are just messing me up here. So I Prismatic Ending the Orcish Bowmaster just to free up future cantrips. So they swing in for 2 here. I decide to cut my losses on the life total here. I can Prismatic Ending the Grief. The Teferi is nice, but I still decide to end the Grief here. Grief just comes back if I bounce it and take my Prismatic Ending or whatever, if the card I drew from Teferi was better. So they have Oppo Agent here, which is a bit scary. And they reanimate my Endurance, which is interesting for sure. It means there's no Uro in my immediate future, and I'm facing down somewhat of a significant clock. But okay, so I play Teferi here, and I bounce Endurance, and I draw a land, and I can actually cast Doomsday next turn if I want to, but we'll see what they're up to here. Oof, Wasteland is kind of scary, and they go for the Bayou, which is interesting with what the Urborg makes possible here. They have 1 card in hand. They decide to go for my life total rather than Teferi, which is fair. I'm pretty low. But I guess, taking the Bayou makes sense because they knew about the Endurance. Sorry, I just forgot about that. Okay, so we get lucky to draw a Prismatic Ending. We needed that or a land to cast Endurance, I guess. So, plus Teferi. They thought seizes, and in response, we kill the agent, and What do you take here if you're them? Guess you take the Doomsday, yeah. I draw a Consider. I get Bowmasters. That's nice. And pass. And they just have to pass. And now we have a clock, and they are at 9 from various damage-taking activities. And now we can. Now this was like really scary because they're sitting on one card here, and I'm not sure what it is, but I do remember thinking if it is Bowmasters and I fetch, I'll be at 1, I'll be dead. But having endurance in play makes a pretty big difference on the clock here. So ultimately I decide to fetch, I believe, maybe I do it on their turn, I can't remember. Yeah, okay, so they have Sheoldred's Edict, we lose the Bowmaster. Not quite sure what my reasoning was. Yeah, I guess my reasoning was that if I draw another Bowmaster now, then it's better having the army. Then that's actually lethal if I draw Bowmasters. I don't, and whatever I draw a card with the fairy here. I don't draw anything that helps me versus a Bowmasters of theirs. So it's up to the Bowmasters gods now. I serve in and I put Yorion in my hand. Yeah, sure, I guess that kind of makes sense. But they don't have anything. They don't have the Bowmasters, and we are 3-0. So super stoked, and this is where I head over to play the live remaining 2 matches. So see you there. All right, hope you enjoyed the first 3 rounds. Here we are live for round number 4, and I won the dice roll. So let's go ahead and choose to be on the play. Reveal Yorion. I unfortunately don't think I can keep this 1-lander with no cantrips, so I'm gonna have to mulligan. I'll keep this, but I'm not super stoked, I have to say. Dark Ritual is sort of not really the card we want here. Let's put away Thassa, and let's play a Prismatic Vista and hope we're up against like a small creature deck or something where these prismatic endings. Actually, yeah, I mean, I hope that, but also I'm kind of sad if I have to fetch Prismatic Vista, bit like basic planes here. But I think I probably do have to, because that means we're somewhat of a ways away from fetching, or from casting Uro. But we get rewarded here, so I'm gonna probably fetch basic island with the Vista, and I'm gonna get a Tundra here. And let's go ahead and prismatic ending this Noble Hierarch. Lotus Petal, okay. Interesting. It's like Eureka, or holy smokes, what's going on here? Is that the initiative dude? Oh, it's a green sun for 4. That is probably, I think there's a green initiative creature. I mean, yeah, don't think I can do much about this. Yeah, that's the one, the Under Mountain Adventurer. Okay. So we're up against some sort of green stompy deck. I would love to draw Swords to Plowshares here, I guess. Force of Will. Turn too late. Alright, I'm going to play Uro here, I think. Yeah, I think that's sort of the play I have. I don't think I can just sit here and wait with the Force of Will up. If we can get Uro into play at some point, that'd be kind of good. Preferably before we die here, so a land. Okay. Well, Doomsday, not really what I was looking for here. Yeah, not even a fetch land works here. A black mana gives us a prismatic ending on the Under Mountain Adventurer. It's unclear to me exactly what to be expecting from this deck. Okay, I take 5. They just pass. Okay.
Oh, geez, Louise. Okay, well, I'm gonna put Yorion into my hand and at least have Force of Will up. But okay, we're seeing the seeing Doomsday show up here in a very pretty bad way. So they get to blast us for 5. So I'm at 11, and I take 5 and go to 6. So we are almost dead here. If we force, then it becomes a 2-turn clock, and we probably have to force whatever this is. This is another Green Suns for 4. I mean, yep, this is Force of Will, and then like a fetch land gets us back Uro. Ice Fang Coatl. So I think I'm going to cast this at sorcery speed just in case I I don't know, hit a cantrip or something. Oh, they have Force of Will as well in this deck? Jeez. Didn't even see any blue mana. Pitch Brainstorm? Wow. Wild. Okay, well, I mean, we're dead. Interesting. So, how do we want to go ahead and sideboard here? So, they have blue mana. Perhaps Carpet of Flowers is a card we want access to. Containment Priest is an okay answer to Green Sun Zenith. Flusterstorm can fight counter spells and Green Sun Zenith. Is Plague Engineer something we might want? And also, what don't we want? I don't really. I mean, I think we can cut the Dark Ritual and probably the Edge of Autumn. Maybe Endurance isn't amazing here. I mean, they on the other hand, they're probably an Uro deck, but yeah, we have the 4 plows for that. I think also Consider can maybe go. So that's 3 more cards I have to cut here if I want to bring in these 8. Is there something obvious here that's I'm not gonna be happy with? Maybe Force of Negation? Actually, I think I can cut a couple of copies of Doomsday. So we just need to cut one more thing. Maybe Plague Engineer is like what I'm named human to kill Noble Hierarch. I don't think so. Yeah, okay. Brought back 1 copy of Doomsday. Let's try this. Let's reveal Yorion here and hope for a good 7. Wow, really getting punished here, I think. Yeah, have to mulligan this. I mean, I'll keep this, I suppose. And probably I'll bottom a Prismatic Vista. Opponent mulligans to 6/2. This has like turn 3 oops Doomsday, I suppose, but I'm not sure how exciting I feel that is. Alright, I think I'm going to lead on Misty Rainforest here and pass. And I am going to yield until end of turn. I don't believe there's a turn 1 play. I would Force of Will here. And I am trying to be aware of my clock. Okay, Noble Hierarch, sure. Alright. Containment Priest. That's actually pretty nice here. Did I show them black mana before? I don't think I did. Maybe I should have played the Vista here just to not give them the scent of Orcish Bowmasters. But so if they go Green Sun Zenith here, that would be amazing. Then we can Containment Priest it. Oh, I think I'm going to flash this in then and try and gobble up this thing here. Let's get Savannah, I think. Yep. So not going for the turn 3 Doomsday, but I think that's okay. They probably will plow this. Then that's a plow they don't have for Uro. They can fetch their Dried Arbor here. Brainstorm. Okay, so they're not plowing. Does that mean they're gonna force of will this Containment Priest? I'd be pretty happy with that. Guess not. Is this where they berserk me? Okay, they concede? Gosh, I guess they got Brainstorm locked. That's wild. I mean, I'll take it. Do we change anything here? I don't think so. I'm just a tiny bit concerned that they might be red as well, and that I would want my blue elemental blasts, but they haven't shown me any red mana, so I think I'm just gonna continue like that's not the case. All right, and it would be nice to not have to mulligan all 3 games here, but we do have to mulligan. That's I don't feel like this has really been a thing before. I think like 28 lands, right? That's probably pretty okay for a Yorion deck. Oh well. Okay, they mulligan as well, so that's something, I guess. Okay, here we go. Keeping this all day, every day. Probably I will ship the basic swamp, and I'll get. Oh, it's too bad. Polluted Delta doesn't get Savannah. Okay, they mulligan to 5. Okay, well I'm gonna keep here. Yeah, and it's the swamp. If they go like Noble Hierarch or off Tropical Island, that would be very good for me. At least, you know, if Carpet can resolve, then I'll go like fetch my own Trop and cast Carpet and then Plow. I think they might be going for basics. They've been doing so pretty reliably. Okay, I don't think I'm going to be countering, or sorry, spinning a Plow on the Hierarch here, or maybe I should, huh? Because they're down to 3 cards. It's tempting. It is actually really tempting. I think I am going to. I've just convinced myself. So I'm gonna not fetch something that can cast Carpet. They didn't give us an island anyway, so I'm gonna get Tundra, and I'm gonna Plow and pass. And then next turn I will maybe like try and ponder to find a green source. Okay, so they had the second land, second Carpet. Okay, I'm gonna leave up Containment Priest here, and then I'm gonna be pondering next turn. Okay, they missed their land drop, so I'm gonna Priest now. I don't think they have Dried Arbor, or they would have played it. They would have fetched end of my last turn, but I could be wrong. If they want to get Dried Arbor here, that's fine. Okay, it looks like they're getting Plow mana. Oh, what's this? Oh, they're dazing? Okay, if we can find a green mana source now, the Carpets are gonna be big game here. Do need to hit a land here. Ooh, we get rewarded. Pretty big. Not sure. Maybe I'll probably end up drawing all of these, actually. So let's cast this and pass into the second main and cast the other one. Let's make green. And hope they don't go like Sol Land and 4 mana dude. But they also showed us Elvish Spirit Guide, I think. They're just like all about the mana ramp. Okay. Looks like they're just passing. So I think I'm going to trigger these. And I'm not gonna Doomsday right now. I'm gonna Uro. So I'm gonna make green and blue. So let's try this on for size. Do you have Plow now? Looks like they do not. Okay. Well, one more card in the graveyard, and we can bring back Uro. Hoping they don't have Surgical here, but you know, if they do, so be it. They do. Yikes. Okay, so they get to see the Doomsday as well. Well, at least from a sort of card economy point of view, they are just down a card right now. My Uro like replaced itself, and they've just gone down a card. But I am worried about like the explosiveness of their deck, that they can just go nuts here. But I think if we're at the same board state and I draw like a land or whatever, I think I am going to try and put Doomsday on the stack next turn. And if they like, they would have to force of will it, I think, which is also I think okay. Okay, they had a good look. They're passing yet again. I'm kind of expecting them to have like a force of will here. And I did draw just a land. So I think I'm going to try and cast Doomsday here. And I can play around Flusterstorm here. I'm not going to play out the Misty Rainforest and show them what I have. Okay, cool. So let's get some Teferis going here. I don't even mind two of them. Thassa, maybe. So tell you what, I'm gonna make this pile contain one fetchable land here, and what should be our backup? Should we have a backup? Should we have like cast a second Doomsday? But then we would need some other way to win. So that's probably not gonna work. We have a prismatic ending in case they resolve some weirdo like Torpor Orb or whatever, but I don't think they didn't see it in games 1 and 2. So let's say they force Teferi, and then they force second Teferi, and then we just have the naked Thassa. That doesn't feel like incredibly good. So maybe we put in like a force of negation. So how about this pile here? We draw Teferi. We cast Teferi. If he resolves, we just plus him to draw Thassa, and then we fetch the Misty. I think that's okay. So we'll be at 11. That's also a pretty healthy Doomsday life total. So let's put Underground Sea on the bottom, and then I suppose Force of Negation, then the second Teferi, Thassa, and the Teferi we're going to draw. Still not going to play out this Misty. They don't need to see that now. And if they have more, surgical here, then that's a little bit annoying. And then I am going to wish I would have played the Misty because I don't want to draw the Underground Sea. Okay, there's Ancient Tomb. Let's trigger these. And tap for blue and blue. Now let's see if we win. If they had Force of Negation, I would somewhat expect them to have played it last turn. If they have Dress Down, they have to cast it now. So green mana, there's a Veil. Okay, you have Veil. That cycles. Now I can't counter anything, but I don't have any counters. Okay. Guess we win. Let's just bounce, targeting nothing. I can't just play Thassa now, because it'll be Devotion 3. But if for some reason they have like something that, like a channel effect or something I'm not thinking of, that can bounce to Fairy, that would be a bit of a blowout. Looks like we're in. Do we win? Looks like we win. Sweet. All right, cool. 4-0. Let's jump into the final round. All right, final round on the draw. Let's go. Again with a hand I have to mulligan because of the lands. This is crazy. This is like 4 in a row. I mean, if this had been a blue land, I would have kept the one lander with the cantrips. Yeah, okay. Let's keep this. And I guess I'll bottom a Teferi. Opponent kept 7. Underground Sea. Oh, it's Doomsday. It is the the quote-unquote mirror here. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? This is naughty. I'm gonna play Plains Go because we're a Yorion deck. So they're gonna think we're Death and Taxes, hopefully, and that they can just YOLO for the win here. I mean, if they have Force of Will, they have Force of Will. Okay, so they brainstorm first, so that kind of indicates that they don't have sort of a straightforward way to do this. Maybe they're missing the... I mean, we know they have Doomsday, but maybe they're missing the Dark Ritual. Okay, there's a land. Okay. So, if they Thoughtseize is here, the jig is up, they'll take the Force of Will, I suppose. Yeah, okay. You got me. So they have to probably... I mean, if they have a Force of Will of their own, then I suppose taking Brainstorm makes, I think, sense. But otherwise, yeah, okay. So they guess that means they don't have protection here. Okay. So I think we sadly just have to pass and hope that we're not dead yet. There's Dark Ritual. Okay. Okay. So Doomsday, huh? So let's get... I think we get Underground Sea here, because if we hit Orcish Bowmasters, that's a card that has sort of text versus them. Post Doomsday, anyways. We don't. We get a Doomsday of our own in case they make like a slow pile. Or we can hope to find like Endurance. Let's put away a Doomsday and a Ponder here. I don't want to lose the Ponder. I do think we're likely dead. But we'll see. See if we can deduce what kind of... like if the Cavern of Souls is not in exile, then they're going for it now. No, rather, the other way around. If the Cavern of Souls is not in exile, that means it's in the pile, most likely. And that also means they already made a land drop, I believe. No, they did not make a land drop, actually. Okay, but there is the Cavern of Souls. It looks like they're just going for it now. Let's see what kind of list they're running. We'll just snap it here. Yep, you can go away. So 1, 2, force 3. All 4 Force of Wills are accounted for. No LED, so yeah, I do believe they are just gonna go for it right now. Oh, there is the LED. Yep, that's reasonable. All right, this is what I think I'm most worried about is fast combo. I also, like in the other league I played, I lost against Tess, and they beat me pretty handily. Like, it felt close initially, but then I just died in both games. All right, GG's. So let's see. We have a few tools, but not many tools. We have the Flusterstorms, which are good. Surgical Extraction is fine. Carped of Flowers. I always hate it when my opponent has Carped of Flowers when I'm playing Doomsday. They probably are bringing in... at least they can bring in Shieldred if they want to, but we're a white deck, so who knows. Or even Dothy Voidwalker or Orcish Bowmasters, maybe. So let's see, this is 6 cards that I know we want for sure. And we probably don't need 4 Prismatic Ending. If we keep even 4 Plows, feels like a lot, but I think that's probably advisable. Don't think we want to be going fast with our own Doomsday here. And yeah, so maybe the Edge of Autumn can also go. So maybe this is how we board. We could board in, bring in Null Rods. They also have text, so they probably board out their LED, but maybe they'll leave in a couple of copies of Petal. So maybe I only want one really. And what do I cut for that? I mean, these 8 cards are not great, but like the Uros are also a way to win the game, and yeah, maybe Ice Fang is the least impressive of these. But also, like, Ice Fang can trade with a Shoulder It, like we can flash it in. Okay, I think I'm gonna try this. So we have decent, like a decent amount of cards here. 6 Forces, 2 Flusters, 2 Surgical, 4 Bowmasters, 2 Endurance. I think those are the cards that have the most relevancy here, but we'll see. We'll see if it's enough. Certainly wasn't in that game 1. Wow, this is an ugly hand for sure. I think I'm gonna mulligan this, honestly. Yeah, I'll keep this, and I'll bottom a land. They keep 7. Yikes. I'll bottom the Prismatic Ending. Okay, and I'm gonna fetch, I guess, basic forest here. Doesn't have to be a basic, they're Doomsday, but might as well keep the other good ones in as fetchable targets. Okay. Ponder is good. As long as they don't like Doomsday now, I'd be kind of happy. If I get my second turn here. Street Wraith and fetch. So Teferi doesn't do a lot. I mean, it's obviously great if you also can back it up with counterspells. Another land. I think I'm actually going to brainstorm here and at least get rid of one of these lands. Maybe swap the Teferi for something. So I think I'm gonna pass here. Don't want to like lose to days. I mean, not that we can really protect the or fight the Doomsday, but we can at least fight the Surgical. Shuffle the pile, I mean. Right on. It's go time. So what can win it for us here? I would say very few things. Shuffling their pile would be one thing. That can maybe offset them a little bit. I don't think I'm going to Surgical until I see what I draw. Because, you know, I don't know. I guess there's no real reason to wait. But there's no real reason not to wait. Unless they have, like, Force of Negation, of course, which I can't imagine they would bring in against a control deck. So we would have to, like, if we fetch and we draw Endurance, we can either, you know, from the Surgical, we can know if we can resolve. Alright, so unfortunately the ending of this match of my recording was cut off because of some software issues, so I'm just going to give you the final moments in the replay. It's no surprise of anyone, I didn't manage to win from here. So what I did do was Surgical. I ended up deciding to Surgical once I had looked at their exile zone, which contained Force of Negation. So I did Surgical, and my opponent had made a very cool pile that was like all discard. They didn't put a land in, which they could also have done, but whatever. They were planning on winning next turn with the Cavern. I think, like, brainstorming into Duress, or like draw Street Wraith, probably cycle into Duress. No, they can't both Duress and brainstorm. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So Surgical, I I ended up actually exiling the Doomsday, which was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. And the shuffle didn't end up mattering. I got a turn here, and I decided to cast a fairy because I thought, like, even if I ponder and consider into like endurance, they have the force, so I have to get them to use that and just basically hope that I get an extra turn because of the shuffling. And they pitch force, so kept their brainstorm. And unfortunately, that's sort of where the trophy dream ended, and my opponent was able to finish me off in short order. All right, so we say GG's to the opponent, and we end up with a 4-1 record, which is honestly still like something I'm really happy with. But obviously, the trophy would have been sweet. All right, so with regards to the deck, I think I have made a couple of changes here now. I removed the Dark Ritual and added a third Force of Negation. Like I mentioned, aside from losing to Doomsday just now, I also, one of my losses so far has been to Tess, and I just think like really fast combo decks generally have a decent enough time versus Yorion piles, and I think that's maybe one issue that this sort of deck has and has to address. I think Consider and Edge of Autumn are also cards I could conceivably see leaving the deck and being replaced by something else. But yeah, I mean, this is a ton of fun, and I would encourage anyone to give it a try. It's certainly something completely different to regular Doomsday. And yeah, I mean, I hope you had fun. If you did and you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. That really helps me a lot. And I'll be back with some more Legacy. Bye-bye.